Hey, good evening, love. So we are coming back after a long time. Friday was a break we took, right? And today
Yeah,
also we are a little late. So not
yeah,
delaying any further. I think you can send the link on the groups,
sure,
and I will. We will start with today's session.
sure.
So what are we discussing today, love? Is how someone who is there in the information security industry should be aware of various laws, regulations, and compliance, right? That is our
Okay,
discussion today,
okay,
mainly,
okay,
right? So, what we will try to cover today is, cover what are the aspects of criminal law, civil law, certain intellectual property protections, privacy regulations, and industry specific compliance frameworks, which as a CISSP you should be aware. So that is what we'll be discussing today. Okay.
okay.
Now, once if you look at CISSP, right, it doesn't want you to become a lawyer or something. It just wants you to understand law very broadly. Now, very broadly speaking, there are three categories of law. Okay. First is a criminal law. Now, criminal law basically covers prohibitions against acts like theft and fraud, right? And it is enforced by law enforcement. So, law enforcement will ensure that criminal law is there, and it's basically meant to keep the society safe. Okay, that's the key
Right,
word.
right.
Then, what is the next law? Are you aware of the next law?
Civil law?
Yes. So civil law is basically, looking at disputes between various individuals and organizations, right?
Okay,
And the only way you solve disputes is through, lawsuits, right?
okay,
It might have certain monetary penalties. Then we have, something called administrative law, right? So administrative law are created by, governments and agencies to pass the legislature, ensure that there is order in the society, right? So that's
okay.
the major part once we talk about laws. Just a second, love, I think I'll have to take a water break.
Yeah, yeah, sure, sure. Take your time, sir. By the time everybody who is watching on this stream, feel free to ask any questions that you have for whatever topic we are discussing at the moment. And also, if you are preparing for CISSP, if you have any questions related to the exam or how to do the preparation, feel free to ask. And as always, after the topics, we'll also cover the Q&A as well. So stay tuned.
Yeah, sorry, in my exuberance at times, my
No
voice levels
worries.
go up. And so administrative law, we're talking about a little bit about administrative law. So
Yeah,
administrative law is, you know so there are administrative agencies under the government which run the government, and they bring out certain laws and regulations from time to time for the society to keep working in a seamless manner, right?
right,
uh, those are the administrative laws. Like if you would have seen during COVID, uh, there was a lockdown imposed. Now nowhere in the any law there is any lockdown mentioned. So there was
yes,
an administrative law passed that there will be lockdown for 14 days or 28 days or 30 days. Such kind of
okay,
laws become administrative laws, right? Now, once you look at CISSP, right, I feel CISSP, once it talks about laws, it wants you to know certain basic laws as far as US is concerned, as far as EU is concerned, and as far as overall global perspective is concerned.
okay,
Now, uh, the first act which it talks about is something called the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. And this was done in 1986 by US. It basically
mhm,
covered, you know, any unauthorized access to government computers and networks.
okay,
Then US passed a act. That means there was a law which was passed, right, to cover national and critical infrastructure. And that was called NIPA. Okay, NIIPA, National Information Infrastructure Protection Act. This was introduced in 1996. Then one of the major laws which was passed in the US for federal agencies, that is the government agencies, was FISMA, right?
okay,
Now, if you look at FISMA, FISMA was a law which was passed specific to federal agencies for implementing. information security programs. That was very critical for federal agencies to implement uh, an information security program, because till then government agencies were not required to have any specific framework, right? And FISMA gave rise to so many NIST documentation, because FISMA because of FISMA, US government gave the responsibility to NIST to create standards. Okay, and
Okay.
that's how
Okay.
NIST came with SP 853, SP 837. So FISMA was the start point,
Okay.
right? So this is broadly US laws which affect the federal state. Then once we look at intellectual property rights, we should know what is a copyright, what is a trademark, what is a patent, and what are trade secrets. Okay, these are the four
Okay.
broad, I will say, intellectual property rights which you should be aware of. Now, copyrights protect literary work, like artwork, right?
Right. Artwork.
Trademarks protect your slogans, your company logo, words or phrases, right?
Okay. Okay.
Then patents cover inventions. Okay, now
Okay.
inventions could be utility or could be documented. Okay, so if
Okay.
you have a design, then also you can patent it. Okay,
Okay.
and then you have
Okay.
something called trade secrets. Now trade
Mhm.
secrets are something which is confidential business information. And how can you protect trade secret? The only way you can probably protect trade secret is by getting a NDA signed, by the user, right? By the
Right.
business. So that is how
Right.
you can protect, right? Now once you look at intellectual property, right, and now you see in today's world, once the entire uh, you know I will say artwork or literature work or even patent or even trade secret can exist on the internet. So there was a Digital Millennium Copyright Act which was introduced. Now Digital Millennium Copyright Act was imposed for anyone who violated copyrights, okay,
Okay.
using internet. And
Okay.
it removed the liability of internet service providers for user actions. The main thing about DMCA was the liability was of internet service providers, because if today I carry out any unauthorized copyright activity, I'm
Hmm.
using internet, so that means ISP is also giving me some network to do something, so it is also part
Right.
of the crime. So
Right.
this liability was removed. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
and the fines could go up to $1 million and 10 years in prison. So DMCA was a very strict act to prevent any misuse of copyright. Okay,
Okay.
then another act as CISSP, which you should know, it's a US specific act, is called the Economic Espionage Act. Now Economic
Okay.
Espionage Act protects organizations trade secrets from theft by foreign agencies. So if any foreign agency wants to steal some proprietary trade secret information from you, they can get fined up to 5 lakh or 500,000 US dollars and 15 years in prison. So
Okay.
that was a strict act, and a lot of people have got punished on Economic Espionage Act, right?
Mm.
Then main thing, once you look at copyright, you will see software licensing as a major issue. Okay, I built a software, and now how do I license it? Because software, there was a time when software would get pirated. Somebody will steal your software, break the code, and make it available for free. So that's
Mm.
why software developers went into subscription model, right? They took the software to SaaS model, where you can charge a recurring fee small time, so that customers don't have to pay very very high fees, right?
Mhm.
So you have to see how you license your software so that you do not uh, you know fall prey to copyright. So there are different kind of licenses. There's something called a perpetual license. You buy the license once and you can use the product for your lifetime, something like operating systems. You can also buy subscriptions, right? You can go
Mhm.
to Microsoft 365 and you can buy a monthly subscription for some money, $10, $20, and you can use it,
Mhm.
right? You can also use open source software which is licensed in an open source manner. So there are two kinds of well-known open source licensing tools. One is Apache, and one is GNU Open License, right?
Yes. Yes.
and then you can also go to enterprise level, wherein you built a software and now you go to enterprise and say, hey, listen, you want to buy a software, we can have a enterprise agreement. Say, if my organization is 10,000 strong, so I go to Windows and I say, hey, listen, I want 10,000 licenses, you need to give me a special price, right?
Mm-hmm.
Such licenses are called enterprise licenses. So you should be
Okay.
aware of these things, generally, once you are preparing for CISSP.
Mm-hmm.
Next, once we cover laws, regulation, compliances, we need to understand the US import export laws. Now, US import
Okay.
export laws mainly are two: ITAR and EAR. So, ITAR covers defense and military items, and EAR covers ITAR is international traffic in arms regulation, and
Okay.
EAR is export administration regulation. So EAR applies to any commercial items which might have potential military application. So that
Okay.
it applies to that. ITR applies to anyone who wants to export any arms or ammunition, right? And there are countries of concerns on which they have bans, like Sudan, Syria, North Korea, which US openly, uh, puts regulations and sanctions. Okay.
Okay.
One thing which today is coming up very, very strongly is the privacy, right? So we need to understand firstly the genesis of privacy in the US and what all
Mm-hmm.
laws are there in US to understand privacy. Okay, and then we should also look at how privacy has been talked about in our daily lives today. So if you look
Right.
at US privacy laws, start from its constitution actually. So their
Mm-hmm.
constitution, which was Fourth Amendment, right, was issued somewhere in the late 1700s, 1790 or 91. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there it in the constitution it was written that nobody can search you without a proper warrant. That was in way
Okay.
back in 1791.
Okay.
Then main privacy information or privacy law came in 1974, which was called Privacy Act, that regulated how government organizations or federal government organization handle your personal information, right? So
Okay.
if I am a federal agency, I might have a lot of information about you, and
Mm-hmm.
can I use this information to give it to someone else? And that's where the concept of consent came in, that I cannot pass this information to someone without the subject's consent, right?
Right. Right.
Then another law came in, I think ECPA, Electronics Communication Protection Act, right? So ECPA came in 1986 to protect electronic communications because now wiretapping was becoming very, very common.
Okay.
Then 1996 came a very, very major act, which even it's followed by Indian companies also, called HIPAA, Health Information Portability, uh,
And
Health
Insurance Act.
Information Portability and
Insurance
Assurance
Act.
Act. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that protects your medical information, which is held by hospitals and insurance
Right.
companies. Okay.
Right.
And one very strict law which US follows very religiously is Children's Online Protection Act, right? So Children's Online Privacy Protection Act protects users against any issues with children's information bit shared online. So that is a very, very critical law, right? Then next is when we talk about privacy, then next law. Yeah, am I audible? Any
Yeah. Yeah.
problems?
No. No. Go on.
I got some issue, right? So then HIPAA was upgraded to high tech in the year 2009. Okay, so
Okay.
and certain more certain more regulations were added into it, including something called data breach notification. So you should know that HIPAA was primarily towards protecting health information, and that is one of the most commonly well known laws. And now it is the high tech, okay, which
Okay.
strengthens the HIPAA further.
Okay.
Now, one of the major concerns, if you see, or major regulatory requirement which will be there in all privacy regulations or acts or laws, would be something called data breach notification laws. That means
Yes.
the moment there is a breach, I'm holding your privacy information, and the moment there is a breach, I should now inform the regulatory body and the
Yes.
subject, both,
Right.
right?
Right.
That becomes a
Right.
major requirement of any privacy, most of the privacy acts and regulations, any all across the world, right?
Mhm.
So that is something which we should all know. Then US had a very intrusive law called US Patriot Act. Now, Patriot Act was introduced after 2001 World Trade Center attacks, right? And it has been since then uh, changed because it was a very controversial law. So it was basically gave immense amount of power to US federal agencies to you know carry out surveillance against you know valid American citizens. Okay, so love,
Okay.
why don't you take a small? I'll take a small break. I
Yeah.
need
Yeah.
to keep this call. Okay.
Yeah. Carry on. So by the time Nahasar is getting back, any questions, anything you want to ask right now, feel free to add in the chat window, and we'll be back in a short while. And definitely stay tuned for the Q&A at the end of this video. And every day we are coming here from 5 to 6 p.m. IST. So definitely, if you have any questions, if you are preparing for CISSP, if you are, if you're looking for some guidance on CISSP, I think these videos will be really helpful for you. So definitely stay tuned on these videos, and feel free to get in touch. If you are looking towards GRC related stuff, then you can get in touch with me. Okay, you have my LinkedIn profile also tagged in here, so definitely feel free to get in touch with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, that's it more or less.
Yeah, sorry, love. It was a
It's okay.
short
It's
call
okay.
which I had to take.
Yeah.
Right. So US Patriot Act, we were at Patriot Act, and Patriot Act was, very gave a lot of power to federal agents to monitor US citizens. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, one of the major regulations which all infosec professionals should know is the European Union GDPR, General
Yes.
Data Protection Regulations. Right. Now, General Data Protection Regulations, it basically gives a common data protection rights across the entire European Union. So all states of European Union enjoy the same rights. Okay,
Mhm.
so it applies to all EU citizens irrespective of which country you are, right? Now, the key principles which GDPR follows is lawful collection of data, fairness
Mhm.
of processing data, transparency with the subject as to how you are using and processing my data, what is the purpose you are taking my data for, collect as minimum data as possible, data minimization laws, accuracy, storage, with integrity, confidentiality. So you basically look at all the principles of safety of information, privacy information, right? So that was covered under GDPR. Now there are huge fines, and a lot of companies have paid some major fines up to 20 million euros, or 4% of global annual turnover. That's like very huge,
Mhm.
right? So GDPR became a very challenging regulation for a lot of companies to work with EU companies, and that's when US kind of tried to get EU on some kind of a agreement, and EU and US created something called EU-US Privacy Shield. Now,
Okay.
EU-US Privacy Shield allows both the countries to do business without GDPR in action, as long as we have, uh, you know, controls which are uh, there in place. So there could be some standard contractual clauses, and there could
Mhm.
be some binding corporate rules. So SCCs and BCRs, which is required between two companies to share the uh, information of each other for business purposes, right? Then certain new laws which were introduced in CISSP, which as a candidate you must know, is the Canadian privacy law, which is called the PIPEDA,
Keep it
and
up.
then we
Yeah.
have then we have the Chinese Personal Information Protection Law called the PIPL,
Yeah.
and then we have the South African Protection of Personal Information Act called POPIA, if I'm not wrong. Okay, and we also have certain countries like India also has now DPDP, right?
DPDP, yeah.
Now, the concept of there was a concept called right to be forgotten in privacy
Mhm.
law, right? Now, right to be forgotten was first introduced in California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA. Okay, now CCPA gave the option to the subject to tell the data collector to remove his data, or he doesn't want to be removed, he doesn't want to be remembered anymore. So that was one of the major requirements of CCPA, which was also adopted in GDPR, right? Now some very very clear requirements of CCPA was to right to know, okay, how my data is being used, right to delete, how I want you to delete my data. Right to opt out means, stop selling my information to anyone, okay, and any kind of discrimination against, so that I can express my rights without any fear. So these were few things which were covered in the CCPA, which became a very strict law, and then other states of US followed the CCPA and implemented their own privacy laws, right?
Okay.
Now, once you understand laws and regulations, there might be also industry standards which you would like to follow. Now, one of
Right.
them is, which you should know for CISSP, is the PCI DSS, Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. PCI DSS is right now in version 4. It generally gives a standard as to how to protect credit card information, right? It's mainly aimed at credit card information. So this is generally what you should be aware of once you are taking on the CISSP chapter 4 of uh, Cybex 10th edition, right? So
Hmm.
main thing is you should understand the legal landscape once you are operating in information space. You should understand global regulations that would be applicable to you. You could also you might also have to keep an eye on evolving standards, like your company might be planning to onboard a credit card company, right, or a credit card,
Hmm.
they might want to uh, incorporate a payment gateway, so you
Right.
also might have to get complied to the PCI DSS requirement. And
Hmm. So you got on mute. Yeah, you got on mute.
oh, actually my voice is not audible now.
Again on mute.
Right, is it audible now?
Yeah, yeah. Now it- yeah.
Yeah. So what I was saying that, as infosec professional, if you're not capable of interpreting law, it's always a good practice to seek legal counsel, get the expert rather than, trying to do it all by yourself, right?
Right. Right. So I heard about one thing called Wassenaar Agreement also. What is that?
Wassenaar agreement was prior to ITAR. Okay,
Oh,
because
okay.
post World War II, right? Post
Okay.
World War II, you could not export. US companies could not export weapons and some critical softwares to countries which were non-NATO countries.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Wassenaar got replaced by ITAR.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Do we have some questions? Can you also throw some light on artificial intelligence laws and regulations? Siddharth, there are no artificial intelligence laws as per se as of now, but yes, there are some industry standards which have come into picture, right? Uh, there are regulations being framed in various countries, right? EU
Yes.
is always will be always on the higher side. EU would have framed a AI regulation till now, which we will have to do some research. But
Yeah.
one standard which has been brought out is ISO 42001, which is a
Yes.
artificial intelligence management standard. Means
Yes.
if in an organization you want to implement AI tools, AI technologies, how would you like to manage? What will be the parameters under which you can implement a management system in your organization? As far as laws is concerned, it's an evolving space. We have to see how laws are framed, how it will impact privacy, requirements of organizations, countries, because if you're training a model and Google is using my data, then of course it's a breach of privacy. So yeah, we have to see how it develops. It's still it's a nascent stage of AI right now.
Yeah.
Right. We will do some questions now, right? As we
Yeah.
always do, right? We will
Right.
do a
Right.
few questions and let's see if uh, you know. Right. So we'll start with question one, which is, oh, my screen is visible.
Not yet, sir.
Okay, just a sec. I guess it's visible now.
Yeah. Now it's coming. Yeah.
Great. Right. So first question says, one sec. Yeah, the first question says, Wendy recently accepted a position as a senior cybersecurity administrator. Right. Just a sec. Okay. Yeah. So Wendy recently accepted a position as a senior cybersecurity administrator at a US government agency and is
Hmm.
concerned about the legal requirements affecting her new position. Which law governs the information security operations at federal agency? Okay.
Hmm.
So federal agency in US are governed by which law? Is it ECPA, Electronics Communication Protection Act? No, it covers wiretapping. Computer Fraud Abuse Act, uh, it doesn't cover federal agency. It's a general act to stop anyone from using computer systems for computer attacks. FERPA protects educational rights. So it is FISMA, Federal Information
Prisma.
Security Management Act, right? That is
Yeah.
how we generally find out answers, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Abhishek Verma. You're right. Yeah.
Second question: what law protects the right of citizens to privacy by placing restriction on authority granted to government agencies to search private residences and facilities? So, what is the law which protects US agencies? It's not applicable to India, of course, right?
Yeah.
Which does not allow government agencies to search my
Second one, sir.
private
B.
residence
Fourth
and
amendment.
property. So, at times, most of the people you know click A, which is wrong. So Privacy Act was basically government agencies can't share your information with anyone. Okay,
Hmm.
there's nothing called Second Amendment. Graham Leach Bliley Act is applicable on self-regulating control of financial and information systems. So how do you report your internal issues? Fourth Amendment provides you the natural protection against any illegal searches, right?
Right. Right.
The next is Mary is the co-founder of Acme Widgets, a manufacturing firm. Together with her partner Joe, she has developed a special oil. Okay, that
Hmm.
will dramatically improve the widget manufacturing process. To keep the formula secret, Mary and Joe plan to make large quantities of the oil by themselves in the plant after the other workers have left. They want to protect this formula for as long as possible. What type of intellectual property protection best suits their needs? So, copyright, what does it protect? It protects literary arts, sort
Yeah.
of question.
Hmm.
Trademark protects logos, word,
Logo
slogan. Is it a
signature.
logo?
Yeah. No. No.
No. But now they have developed a special oil, which can.
Hmm.
Is it an invention?
Yes.
Is a special oil development invention?
Yes.
It will improve widget manufacturing, bro. Keep the formula secret. Mayor and Joe plant a large quantities of oil by themselves in the plant after the other workers have left. They want to protect this formula as long as possible. What type of intellectual property protection best suits their needs? As long as possible. Patent cannot be protected for as long as possible. Patent expires. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Patent
20
has two
years.
lives, 15 years and 20 years.
20 years. Yeah.
If they try to protect, they can't protect it for as long as possible. So patent is out.
Hmm. Right.
Though they could have applied for a patent.
Hmm.
Okay. So ultimately, trade secret is something which can be used by them to protect their needs. Okay, for as long as possible,
Okay. Okay.
right? Because it's a special secret, right?
Yeah.
And you would like to protect as long as nobody comes to know.
Right.
Our next question is: Tom is an advisor to a federal government agency, okay, that collects personal information from constituents. He would like to facilitate a research relationship between that firm and several universities that involve the sharing of personal information. What law prevents government agencies from disclosing personal information that an individual supplies to the government under protected circumstances? I have given my Aadhaar information to you. Which
Hmm.
right do I have? Okay. Is it Gramm-Leach Bliley Act? I told you no, it is
No.
on self
No.
control. Out.
No.
Health insurance portability?
No.
Out. It
No.
deals with insurance, health information
Hmm.
with insurance companies. ECPA protects your information when you are communicating on telephone lines. It is
Hmm.
the Privacy Act which gives you the right that once you have supplied your information to government agencies, they cannot share it with anyone else without your consent. Okay.
Right. Right.
And the last question. Last question is: Kevin is assessing his organization's obligations under state data breach notification laws. Which one of the following pieces of information would generally not be covered by a data breach notification law when it appears in conjunction with a person's name? Okay. Do you get the question?
Mm, no, sir. It's kind of tricky.
Yeah. But generally not be covered by a data breach law
Yeah.
when it appears in conjunction with a person's name.
Would it be D? Not
Okay.
covered
So
because it's a
let's,
negative, na? Yeah.
yeah. Which one of the following pieces of information would generally not be covered? Will
Not be
social
covered.
nic-
Yeah.
will not be covered. Social
Mm.
will not be covered by a data breach law. Social security number will definitely be covered,
Mm.
right? Credit card number definitely be covered. Student
Yes.
identification number definitely be covered. Driver license number, is it a PII information? May not be.
May
My
not be.
understanding.
Yeah.
Driver license number, what does it prove? That I'm authorized to drive, right? It cannot
Yeah.
relate to my any personal information,
No.
just if you have it, right? It's the
Hmm.
social security number gives a lot of information. Credit card number gives a lot of financial information, and it can lead to financial fraud. Student identification number can lead to a lot of information about your education. Driver
Okay.
license number will only lead to information which says whether you are allowed to drive or not,
Eligibility. Yes.
whether your license has expired or not,
Right. Right.
right? So this is
But
how you
Garud
find.
Gaming, yeah, but Garud Gaming has a comment. He's saying DL would give address also.
So that is published, right? That's a published thing.
Huh.
But license number will not expose you to anything.
Yeah, we are talking about only the license number. Garud Gaming, we are not talking about the address such.
Social
Yeah,
security number, you can use social security number to find out a lot of details
I would say
something,
everything. Everything, yeah.
everything. In US, everything. Driver license number can tell you certain things, but it mainly gives you whether the license number is expired or not.
Right.
It's a US specific term. Credit card number, your financial data is gone, right?
Hmm.
Student identification number, again, it might give you access to a lot of. So it is a fight between B and D, I feel.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
One question, sir, from
Maybe
Ganesh.
I feel even student identification number seems to be right.
I would also second that thought, sir. Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Somehow, student identification number also gives. So this confusion will always be there in CISSP, and you have to keep fighting with yourself.
Hmm.
So yeah, student identification numbers somewhere down the line may not give you a lot of information. I feel so.
Yeah. Even
Right?
about the studies, they would be able to get the information. It's fine, right?
Yeah, they will only come to know okay who is the student. That's it.
Which college was that? And all.
Which
Yeah.
colleges was, yeah. It may
Yeah.
not lead to even your marks or anything, right?
Right. Right. Ganesh has a
Yeah.
question, sir.
Yeah.
I have a
So driver
question in
license
my.
number, yeah, it becomes a PII
Yeah.
because it has address, it has street
Yes.
number, a lot of things. Yeah.
Yes. I have a question. If my company in India and our
Yeah.
clients are also India, should I need to follow HIPAA or NIST?
If your company is in India and your client is in India, but which data are you processing? Are you processing US data?
That yes, what it is written whether I should follow HIPAA or NIST.
Wait, let me go to the question. I have to
Yeah,
shut this.
yeah,
Okay. So let me read the question. Just a
yeah.
sec.
Ganesh.
Uh, G- G- Ganesh, I can't see
Yeah,
the question.
a little bit upwards because we have
Yeah, I have
option
a
A, B,
question.
and
If
C.
my
Yeah.
company in India and their client are also in India, should I need to follow HIPAA or NIST? See, HIPAA is firstly HIPAA, Ganesh, and HIPAA is only you will have to follow if you process, if there is any outsourcing involved by a US company to you. Please understand. If say your client might be based in India, but he's bringing US insurance data and trying to process US health data. If your client is a insurance company which is originally based out of US but has a India office, okay, and now to save cost he gets US data and tries to process it here, you will have to abide by HIPAA. I hope I've made it clear. NIST
Yes, yes, yes.
is voluntary. If NIST CSF is voluntary. NIST SP 853 is regulatory. 853 is applicable for companies, federal companies based out of US
Okay,
or any other, I will say contractor or subcontractor which are working for US federal agencies.
okay.
Right, Ganesh? I hope I have given you your question answer. Hopefully. If your client is Indian, only processes Indian data, you are India, no HIPAA, no NIST.
Yeah,
NIST is self-regulatory. You can implement NIST to have good practices. Or uh, if you are looking at you know tomorrow becoming a contractor in US, or you want to onboard a US client, then maybe. Yeah.
yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
No, that's it, sir.
Right. Thank you so much. Thanks for the participation. And we will see you guys tomorrow and we will start. Oh, by the way, we finished domain one, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So we'll see you all tomorrow, domain two. By the way, I have a good news, love. So
yeah.
there's this lady. I don't want to give her name out because she has asked me to keep it as secret as possible. If she gives it out herself, that's fine. And those who are in our group know it. So this lady passed her CISSP exam in 17 days of preparation. 1-7.
Wow.
Okay, so she
One
went
seven.
on hyper mode preparation. Okay, and maybe she will come out with uh you know a, a social media post. I can't force anyone, but yes, she passed her exam in 17 days, and that's something real great. Okay, so let's catch up tomorrow with
Yeah.
domain 2 asset security. Right, take care, bye bye.
Sure. Thank you. Bye bye.